So you started on your self-improvement journey and you want the effects of monk mode, but you don't have the opportunity to disappear for 6 months to a year. You got responsibilities. So today I'm going to show you 3 things. And if you stay to the end, there's going to be a bonus 4th tip associated with how you can get the exact same effects of monk mode without actually changing your lifestyle that much. First, I want to talk about why do people want to do monk mode or self-improvement at all, right? Self-improvement at a root basically says you don't like where you are and you want to be somewhere else, usually at an elevated level. This can be physically, financially, relationally, religion. Those are the 4 main areas. And that's true of pretty much everyone, right? Everybody gets hit with this realization of wanting to be better at a different point in life. Some people it's at a younger age, some people it's at an older age, some people it just happens naturally based on what they observe. Some people have to go through something tragic or dramatic before they decide they want to have a change for the better. They start to realize that time is limited. We only have so many years on this earth, right? And that's cool. Whatever brought you here, hey, you're here now. That's all that matters. So why a lot of people do self-improvement? That's basically what that covers, right? The reason I want to say the why is because once you understand your why, the how is so much easier. My dad always says that. Once you know your why, the how is easier. It's just like if you were going to be a doctor. If you understand what the problem is, it's so much easier for you to find the diagnosis versus somebody just comes in and says, I don't feel good. And then the doctor's like, well, if they don't ask any questions or they don't understand why you don't feel good or what doesn't feel good, they're not going to be able to help you with anything, right? So that's why the why is so important, especially with a self-improvement journey, because your why is going to become your North Star, or it's going to become the reason why basically when you're going through and there's that day you don't feel like doing it, or that day where you're like, is it really worth it? You remember that why, that's the discipline that's going to get you past the initial 2 weeks of motivation that usually come when you decide to start something that's in the self-improvement realm or genre, I guess we'll call it. Right? So in monk mode, there are a couple of things that always happen in monk mode. One, you got to disappear for, it's anywhere between 6 months to 2 years, right? You have to disappear, and that means, you cut off all friends, family, no communication, except essential communication. So if you have a job, obviously for that, if you school, you got to communicate with your professors, your teachers, etc. But there's no friends, no social. It's just you and yourself, right? It's isolation, basically like a monk. You're up there in the mountains by yourself. It's just you, fresh air, and God, right? That's the first part. The second part is that it's super disciplined. So you're going to do things that are uncomfortable, whether that's, a lot of people do 75 hard. So they'll work out, you have a 45-minute workout that's outside in the morning or in the afternoon. You have 2 workouts. One that's they're both 45 minutes. One is outside, one is inside. And I think the requirements are one has to be cardio, one has to be weights. I'm not quite sure about that second part, but one is inside, one's outside. They both have to be 45 minutes. That much I know. Or you have to drink, I think it's a gallon of water. You have to read either 15 minutes a day or 15 pages. There's some other stuff that goes into 75 hard. I haven't tried it yet. I'm actually going to do it this summer, and I'll document that, which I think is going to be fun just because I've never done it. But I feel like based on the style of training that I'm doing now, it actually fits really well with my work schedule for my internships. But I'll get into that in a different video associated with how to fit different workout schedules in with a full-time job. However, so that's the second part, right? The discipline aspect. Sometimes they'll take cold showers. I think that's part of it, or an ice bath, if ice is that readily available to you, I suppose. And then the other thing they usually have you do is they want, like I said, you read that book or you develop a high value skill, right? And so those are the main, 3 pillars associated with monk mode. There obviously are different things that come into it associated with cleaning up your diet, getting a certain amount of sleep, meditation, journaling, gratitude. There's a whole bunch of other things, but at the main 3 pillars, it's usually something to do with isolation, it usually has something to do with these 3 things, right? There's the isolation aspect, there's the discipline aspect, and then there's the self-improvement aspect, which is usually something to do with a high value skill, right? Those are the 3 main things, right? Now, if you think about it, you can do all of those things while still keeping your regular life. The only thing that you're going to have to accept, though, is that it may take you longer to get that done, and you're going to have to be a little more strategic and better at time management if you don't want to change your lifestyle, but you still want to see those results, right? Here's what I mean. Let's take the first one, the social isolation, right? Why would they recommend that you isolate yourself from other people? It's not because they want you to become socially awkward after 2 years and you don't know how to communicate or what's going on in the world. It's a distraction, right? A lot of times it's a distraction. Going out on Fridays, hanging out with friends, happy hours, game nights, whatever the case may be, it's a distraction because that's not helping you achieve your goals. Sure, you're able to hang out with your friends and create relationships, and that's great, right? But sometimes it can be a distraction, especially if your friends always want to hang out or you have to go out every single weekend. And financially, if you go out every weekend, that gets expensive really fast. So they just recommend cut all those distractions out, all those people that want to talk to you and tell you about all the problems of their days. Those are extra hours that you can get back to focus on that high value skill, the goals associated with the trajectory to your North Star, remembering your why. That would be the first one. So if you don't want to cut everybody off, which most people do not want to do, what you can do is limit your social interactions. So make a rule for yourself that's non-negotiable. During the week, you don't hang out with people. If you do hang out with people, it's either Friday night or it's Saturday, and it doesn't have to be every weekend, right? Limit your social interactions, make rules. This is going to actually benefit you more than socially isolating for two reasons. One, your friends are going to respect your time, and when they do want you to hang out, it's going to be way better, more fruitful, and it's going to be more authentic because they know your time is limited and it's something that you respect and value. And then the second thing is, after your monk mode was over, if you isolated everybody for 2 years, now you have to circle back and explain to everybody why you ghosted them. And that doesn't always end well. Some people who really don't do well with ghosting, that could be a bridge you've just broken and burned, and you cannot rebuild that one. And that just is reality of life. Some people, they just do not take that well. And your reasoning behind it has nothing to do with it. It's the same reason why when people say, the parent left them when they were young, and it's like, you couldn't visit me or write me a letter. Even with that explanation, sometimes the child will forgive the parent that left. Other times, that relationship is over with. Like, there ain't no coming back from that one. So that's the first point. The second one, associated with discipline with the exercise. Now, if you're socially isolating, you have a bunch more hours to do the discipline and the self-improvement, right? So if you're not going to necessarily isolate for the social interaction side all the way, here's what you'd have to do. So for those workouts, they're 45 minutes. So this is where the planning comes in. So if you're getting, as a grown adult, 7 hours of sleep, if you get up at 5 a.m., that means you have to go to bed at 10. So you go to bed at 10, you wake up at 5, you work out 45 minutes, by 6 o'clock you shower, 7 you get up, have breakfast, you can get to work. When you get off work, you have another 45-minute workout. So let's say you get home 5:30, 5:15, 45-minute workout, 6:30 by 7, you're eating dinner. That gives you from 7 to 10, 3 hours to do the third step, which is the self-improvement aspect, right? That's when you can do, if you didn't do your journaling in the morning, you can do your journaling now, your meditation now, your reading. You can do all of those things now, and you'll even have time to work on that high value skill that you should be learning during this time. So that's kind of how you combine 2 and 3, strategically planning them so that way during the day, associated with the hours between 8 and 5, let's just say you're at school, you've got practice, or you have work from 8 to 5 if you're an adult, right? Like you're not gonna be able to just take off 2 hours in the middle of your day, be like, oh, by the way, sir, I'm not gonna be at that meeting because I'm doing 75 hard and I need 2 hours to work out. So I'm just gonna not be at that meeting. Like, you can't do that. You can't tell your boss what meetings you will and won't do. It's a job. Like, they tell you what to do. That's how it works. So you have to plan your day accordingly, associated with what it is that you're gonna do. But by planning it out that way, you don't really have to reprogram your life that much. I mean, obviously, if you're not used to getting up early, you may have to change that. That may have to change. But for the most part, you can get the rest of that stuff done. You just have to really focus on the discipline of getting in the bed. Those first 3 associated with what it is that you can do to avoid the monk mode feel, but still get the monk mode effect, right? Basically, limit your social interactions, find time to do your workout in the morning and in the afternoon, associated with planning your sleep out. And then for your high value skill, find a way to do an hour or 2 at night and just be very intentional about that. Meditation, journaling, your reading, etc. Now, the 4th tip actually is not anything different, and it doesn't add to monk mode or take away from monk mode. The fourth tip is what I like to call compound assignments. We're going to call them CAs. Now, for your CAs, all you have to do is find a way to kill two birds with one stone. Let's say you work in an office, right? And one of your workouts is cardio based and the other one is strength training, right? So if you have, let's say, a variable desk, a standing desk, and you can get off TikTok one of those treadmill boards, you can do high intensity walking for 45 minutes while you're at work writing emails at the end of the day. Now you don't have to try to find another 45-minute gap to get your cardio in. If you're walking fast enough, that can work. You can get your 10,000 steps in. Cardio, check. Or if you have, let's say, for example, you do work or you go to school, you have a commute, right? Or you're waiting for the bus, whatever the case may be, you can listen to, instead of reading 15 pages, let's say you just don't have time for that, which is really just you haven't found a way to plan it into your day yet. But honestly, sometimes life happens, things show up, you just can't find that time to sit down, emergencies, etc. So you could do audiobooks. You can listen to the equivalent of 15 pages on an audiobook, or maybe that's 5 or 10 minutes on the audiobook. You can listen to that. Now you've got your reading done while you're getting to work, while you're doing your daily tasks, while you're at work, while you're at school and study hall, whatever the case may be. You can listen to a podcast or an audiobook associated with getting that 15 minutes of reading in, right? That's the second way you can do it. A third way that you could implement a CA, it's more on the high value skill side, is, let's say, for example, your high value skill is that you want to get better at public speaking. You can really practice a lot of public speaking by interacting with people in your day-to-day life. So if you're on the street speaking to everybody, you can challenge yourself to speak to everybody. Say, hello, good morning, good afternoon, hey, how are you doing? Talking to people at lunch. If there are opportunities at your school to speak up, you can definitely do that. Give presentations, take the lead on those. If you're at work and there's some sort of a group or a club that you can join at work associated with public speaking, you can do that. If, for example, let's say you're working on sales for a high value skill and you have friends, this is how you can still incorporate the social part, right? But now you're being intentional, strategic. If you need to work through scripts or you need to practice objections, you can call up or talk to one of your friends. Let's say you guys go out to a Starbucks, you can buy them, I don't know, something like you buy them lunch or whatever the case is, using the time, you guys can go over objections, right? So now you're finding ways to practice things already in the flow of what you already have to do. And that's really what makes it a compound assignment, if you will. So hopefully that helps associated with your self-improvement monk mode journey. Again, as always, guys, girls, make sure you're on your fitness. Make sure you're staying on top of your health. Make sure you're doing your skincare. Self-improvement is super huge. Look good, feel good. As long as you're doing what you're supposed to do, that's going to make you feel good as well. And again, this is not an overnight thing. It's going to take time. Constantly learn, constantly improve. Never assume you're the smartest person in the room. Even if you are, you can always learn from somebody. And go out there and get it, man. Like, what else?